Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Reports emerging from multiple sources indicate that three major opposition figures, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's Peter Obi, and former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, have allegedly forged a political alliance aimed at unseating President Bola Tinubu in the next general elections. This coalition, if confirmed, could be one of the most significant political realignments in recent times. But what does it mean for Nigeria's democracy, and can these political heavyweights truly unite under one banner? Well, joining us for the discussion this morning is a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Dr. Dennis Oyakhire. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, viewers.
Okay, so whilst these are still allegations, we're not quite sure what exactly the true position is, and we're waiting for the confirmation, but are you worried about a potential coalition and the impact it might have on the chances of the APC in the 2027 elections?
Yeah, okay. I will begin by saying that coalition against sitting government is not a new phenomenon. Indeed, political coalition, it's something that, has been on for quite some time. In our climes, we recall that we've had the PPA coalition against the government of Shehu Shagari. Even on the international scene, only recently, we saw that there was a kind of coalition against the emergence of Donald Trump. Of course, we are also very aware of what happened as a run-up to the 2015 election. Coalition can only mean and be successful if there is a coherent strategy. That was not there, for the coalition against Donald Trump. In the PPA of 19, against Shehu Shagari, again, was not there. The only coalition that worked was the 2014-2015 coalition. And so, if you like, President Bola Tinubu has the patent for a successful coalition. And so this ongoing talk about coalition lacks coherence. It lacks ideological position. Let's say the three major personnel, Atiku, Peter Obi, and El-Rufai. Atiku currently holds fragments of the PDP, just a fragment. Of course, we know that a major part of that is being managed by the Wike's political machinery. Obi, you can say, well, run up to the 2023 election, he kind of expunged some reformist agenda around the obedience group and all of that. And then El-Rufai, with his northern and religious tendencies, which he quickly, subjugated under the Asiwaju's machinery, will not really be said to be in tandem with Atiku or Obi. So what I can say of this coalition is that they lack coherence. It's a quickly brought together coalition, and I can tell you that it's not likely to cause the President Bola Tinubu insomnia. He's not going to lose any sleep over this coalition.
You did mention that President Bola Tinubu kind of has the patent because his coalition was successful. Was it a coalition? Do you mean the coalition that unseated former President Goodluck Jonathan, the CPC and the APC bloc coming together to unseat him, or you're referring to the last general elections? And what made that coalition successful? Why do you think this is not coherent and it's disjointed?
Okay, I was referring to, indeed, I was referring to the 2014-2015. That was the coalition that brought in President Buhari. We all know that the brain behind that coalition was President Bola Tinubu. You recall the famous speech in, I think, Osun State, where he was talking about, he tried Olule, the famous, and he said, look, he called on President Buhari, it's not a matter of whipping, it's a matter of strategy. And what was that strategy? Bring the famed 10 million votes from the north, and of course the coalition that Ahmed Bola Tinubu has been building around the southwest and a bit of the south-south. When I say south-south, I'm talking of Edo, some extension to Delta, and then bring it together under, a coherent ideological coalition, and then unleash it. And we saw that when that coalition came on board, the rantings of the Orubebes could not stop it, and that was what swept President Buhari to power.
So are you saying that this alleged coalition between the three powerhouses would not hold sway? It's not going to, make any impact?
Categorically, I am saying that it's a so-called coalition. It's laughable. The three personnel are really, they don't have a coherent, agenda.
Yeah, but the numbers, they both got 6 million votes each, and President Tinubu got 8 million. So if you add 6 plus 6, that's 12 against President Tinubu's 8 million. I mean, and democracy is a game of numbers, but I understand it doesn't always work.
Yes, like exactly. Yeah. It doesn't add up. The numbers you are talking about is numbers about human beings, numbers about people's perception. I give you the Peter Obi, for instance. Oh, Peter Obi, the obedience movement. But in fact, as we speak, I have had the opportunity of speaking, and they said, look, if Peter Obi will jettison his obedience movement and join Atiku with the whatever they say they have a written something, they are going to leave him. And so it's laughable. You don't carry votes, from your agenda, your reformist agenda, mix it with Atiku's personal ambition, and bring in El-Rufai's regional and religious agenda, and you think you will still retain the same number of votes from the obedient people. It doesn't work that way.
There's also a worry that, who would be vying for president and vice president amongst the three? And how would this work?
Exactly. The question is, who is going to vie for president? I understand from what is happening that, there is now a written agreement that Atiku is going to run for just 4 years, after which Obi will now come in and all of that. But who brings a political agreement and rights? Those things don't work. Even the famed coalition we are talking about in 2015, where Asiwaju brought in Buhari, you saw that just after 4 years, there was a lot of effort to able out the president. I'm talking of the current president. It took patience on the part of the president. It took a lot of strategy and strategizing. At a point, the current first lady, who was then a senator, had to come out to say, look, my husband is being victimized. Yeah. But the president took his time, was patient, and he kept working. He kept working to the extent he got, Buhari's wife on his side, and then was still working the machinery, so that even at the eve of him being elected, as the running mate, we saw all the drama that happened. The point is that Nigerian political reward system rewards strategy, it rewards patience. And that is why I don't see what will happen, in 2027. If you ask me, 2027 is all wrapped up for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Is it wrapped up for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu because Nigerians believe in the flawless administration that he's had, or maybe not, flawless is not the word to use. Is it wrapped up because Nigerians believe in the Renewed Hope agenda and the plans that the Renewed Hope agenda has for Nigeria? Or is it wrapped up for President Bola Tinubu because he's a strategic master planner that has put in blocks in political spaces to ensure that things turn around in his favor?
In terms of personnel?
Yes, I'll tell you the two. It's the two. It's wrapped up because he's a strategic political planner, and you need that, to be successful in politics. Now, talking about the issue of, the economy, the people and all of that, perceptive, watchers of this economy will also tell you that there is a gradual movement to stability. The truth is that coming from the APC circle, I can tell you that there wasn't anything strategic in the 8 years of Buhari's government in terms of the economy, and so we saw the oil industry run haywire. There was no the subsidy that was said to have been stopped and removed, still continued, and all of that. But on the first day, people fault the president for making that pronouncement on the first day. But you see, if you need to make hay, you have to do it while the sun shines. He had 4 years, and he needed to introduce that shock agenda. And I can tell you today, we are beginning to see a strategic. The prices of petroleum pump price went. We were buying for 1,300, but today you can see that it's beginning to stabilize. Foreign exchange is beginning to stabilize. One very quiet and salient improvement that the president is making is in terms of the oil and gas, which is, of course, our mainstay. We are producing about 1.5 million barrels per day. But you can see the kind of thing that the president is doing with the NNPC. The NNPCL, the limited, of the NNPC was there just in name during the Buhari's government. But today, the president has injected industry players. I play in the oil and gas industry. And I can tell you that his strategic appointments of bringing in an industry player as the group MD of the NNPC, injecting it with a new impetus, and the next stage will be for NNPC to float its shares in the London and New York Stock Exchange. And what will we have? We will have investments coming into the economy. We easily have the opportunity of going from 1.5 million to 3 million barrels a day, and the president is working that, that plan very well. And by 2027, once we see that, we can begin to see a reduction in exchange rates. We can begin to see a stabilization of the pump price of fuel. Of course, today farmers are smiling, to the bank. We'll begin to see
the ones that can go to their farms.
That's it.
We have high cases of insecurity, but it's good that the elections are 2 years away from now and ahead. And you've highlighted some of the positives of the Tinubu administration as we approach the second year mark of this administration. But if elections are to be held this weekend, the ordinary Nigerians in the streets, the millions of them that have fallen into multidimensional poverty will tell you that, okay, fine, you've mentioned some of these things, but they will also tell you that electricity tariffs have skyrocketed. They'll talk about telecommunications tariffs, that they are earning little and paying more, the cost of living. And if we do a vox pop on the list of priority, what matters most to you? Most households spend their monies on food. They also tell you that the price of food has gone up compared to where it was when this administration took place. And that's where it pinches the most and hurts the most. And they would absolutely disagree with you. Is there hope for the ordinary Nigerian in another 2 years that their lots will improve, that the tariff, the monumental tariff they're paying for electricity would reduce, and that they will see more dividends of democracy? They will feel more government presence in their lives?
Yeah, okay, I get all the points. the issue of tariffs, insecurity and food production, cost of living, and all of that. I mean, unless you are from outer space, you will definitely agree with all of this. But how do you combat it? It is not a knee-jerk reaction. It is strategic planning. And the strategic planning bit of what I'm talking about is the fact that the president, I believe, and I know, recognizes all of these things. But when these reforms that are being put in place, begin to mature, don't forget, we still have 2 years to go. And when they begin to mature, a lot of all these things, it's not really about the tariffs than the ability to be able to meet it. And I believe that as our oil and gas production, goes up, and then we have the ability to earn a bit more foreign exchange, a lot of all these things will be plowed back into the economy, and the current pains, which nobody should make any joke about or deny, will begin to ease out. And I want to also say that the president is also behind the scene trying to work at our poverty alleviation strategy. And so we're talking about the students' loan scheme. And I also think that another area of focus, which possibly will kind of create a social safety net for the multidimensionally poor and all of that we are talking, which we should not deny, is to re-energize and refocus, the Ministry of Humanitarian, with a lot more of professionals that will, look at the poor in our midst and begin to, provide for them what they need to jack out of that poverty. But
become self-sustainable.
Yes, but we should not plan our economy based on, we give up. I understand. And then I think another area to really look at is the political class. I think the president needs to look at the political class, in the face and begin to talk about, their own sacrifice, to all of this. But having said all that, I think we need to realize that Rome was not built in a day. The political engineering has begun, and it will continue. Towards 2025, it is my belief that we will be making very, very giant steps. Of
2027,
course. 2027.
We'll come back to talk a little more about, you've talked about the political class. We'll come back to talk about the political parties in a moment. We'll just go on a very quick break, and when we come back, Breakfast Central continues.
All right, welcome back. We're still looking at the alleged coalition between three very powerful political personalities, and our guest is definitely a chieftain of the APC who's joining us here this very morning, Dr. Dennis Oyakhire. Back to the conversation before we went on the break. You talked about the political angle and the political class, but I also want to ask, you've made mention of everyone holding up because things are becoming a bit tougher, but you acknowledge that the economy is not as what it should be.
No, that has already.
You acknowledge that?
Yeah, I've already.
Yeah, I'm just asking, just as a pivotal to my next question.
Oh, sure. I've acknowledged the fact that the economy is something that is still work in progress.
So, what we hear these days is that we have 2 more years. Do you think in 2 more years what we are going through now can be turned around, or it's just another statement made so as to make Nigerians relax and go ahead and vote again, go to the polls and ensure that the president gets a second term?
Yeah, I really don't think it's just a statement. And when I say that, I'll just refer us back to what happened. The president came in, in 2023. And between 2023 and today, I've talked about, some of the movements, positive movements. We tend to forget, easily. time was in this country where, you have money, you want to buy petrol at any cost, you're on queues. You go in, the government wants to probably increase fuel pump price of petroleum, and then labor goes in and they shut down, the economy. Today, that has been deregulated, and we are talking therefore of steady, steady supply. We are talking of consistency. We are talking of the planning. So you will not make any early if you go from one petrol station and you see fuel at 1,000 and the other, for at 900. You buy, wherever you want, and then we're beginning to see competition. We're beginning to see that the oligarchy in the NNPC is being broken down. That is a period of just 1 year, and it started because the president said petroleum subsidy is gone. So in 1 year, we are even already seeing a reduction of the pump price of petroleum. Now, talk of the exchange rates. The exchange rates, we came up from 600, 700, 800 pre-2023, and back we're getting to almost 1,800. We are beginning to see a stability. Exchange rate is not really about whether it's 1,600 to the dollar, but about, stability, so that the planners, the economic actors can plan. And so we are beginning to see a convergence around 1,600, 1,500. So when we're doing, when the industry is planning, they are planning with some bit of consistency. That is just in a year. And if indeed oil and gas is our mainstay, and that re-engineering is continuing to stabilizing the NNPC and to, pushing the production from 1.5 million barrels a day to about 3 million. We've seen what has happened. Shell has given up its onshore asset, which is increasingly becoming difficult to produce to Nigerian actors. And Nigerian actors are squeezing out, oil from stone as it were. So if we get on within the next 1 year, not even to 3 million that we have the potential of doing, to maybe 2 million, 2.5, you can see that there will be a substantial improvement. And it's not going to solve all the problems.
Exactly.
But no, it's not going to, the solving Nigerians' problem is not, a sprint, but
there's no silver bullet.
Yes, yeah. It's a marathon. So I believe that it's not really about just a political statement, but you have politicians who have to play politics. They also bring politics. But I think that perceptive observers, of the economy will see that there's a gradual improvement. Unlike, and I will be the first to admit, the 8 years of Buhari, we saw policy somersaults. And that is why, we are here today. Okay. Yes, the president was part of bringing that.
Exactly, that's where I was going.
No, he was part of bringing
still
that.
the same APC for 8 years. And the president presented him to Nigerians and said, this is the man who will do the job.
Yes, but I had just said earlier in this meeting that, soon after he did that, he was being elbowed out. But he was patient, and he wanted, not to rock the boat, which for me is a sign of, an elder statesman trying not to.
But what does that say of the All Progressives Congress?
It says that it's a political party that is organic and is self-adjusting.
Okay, there are those who believe that the APC is going to implode very soon because there have been a lot of defections and people going to the APC. You talked about how the three potential leaders of the coalition, there's not a merger of ideologies between all three or amongst the three of them. So you don't see how that is going to work. But there are those who believe that these different people coming to the APC are also coming with different ideologies. So soon enough, the party will implode. That is laughable.
I mean, it's a valid argument.
No, well, the argument is there, but it's wishful thinking of the opposition. The opposition is wishing, these people are, they are really advancing their political terrain, and so it's for them to wish that APC will explode. But where are the signs of the implosions? In fact, the more APC is expanding, the more this coalition is making a ridiculous statement. The other day, our famous grass cutter, Babachir Lawal, who was the one that mobilized northern Christians against the Muslim ticket.
Oh, that's alleged.
No, well, it's not alleged. Babachir Lawal said, and he said that he does not support a Muslim ticket, being another Muslim, a northern Christian party chieftain. He was just when the president went to Rome. He was saying that it was wrong and all of that. That's a very ridiculous statement coming from a person who says, oh, Christianity needs to be recognized. And now the president has looked across the aisle, a president, by the way, who is married to a redeemed pastor, to go, for the inauguration of the Pope and attend the first mass. And he's saying that, there's problem. So every day the opposition is having disjointed, incoherent statements. So they are wishing that APC will implode. But I've spoken about the machinery.
So you think APC will not implode?
No, APC will not
implode. And is the APC behind a number of the party fragmentations happening in other political parties?
I don't understand what you mean by behind.
Are they destabilizing?
Exactly, there have been allegations that the APC leaders have planted moles or have sponsored the destabilization of other political parties.
I just need you to understand what is a political party. A political party is an interest-driven body of political actors that wants to, advance, their political fortunes and rewards. So I don't know what you mean by moles. If, for instance, an ex-governor Wike, who was also elbowed out, from the PDP presidential ticket after so many people have said choose him as the vice president, now gets to further his own career and interest, links up with the president of his own accord. I don't think that's the doing of the APC. Rather, it is the doing and the incoherence of the Atiku's campaign that threw out Wike. And if they threw out Wike and the president saw value in him, courted him and got him, and did not only give him, promised him and made him the FCT minister, then I don't see the issue.
And on a final note, in a few seconds, for those who worry about the country moving into a one-party state, seen as majority of the leaders are moving to the APC. I mean, you did see when there was a presentation of budget and in the legislative, the red chambers, they were all singing on your mandate we shall stand, when it's supposed to be that they are a body that is checking and ensuring that, there is checks and balances between the legislature and the executive. So there are worries and concerns amongst Nigerians about Nigeria moving into a one-party state.
Ganduje, the chairman of APC, also said there's nothing wrong with
indeed. Ganduje, because Ganduje, is right, because talking about on your mandate will stand, that was just at the early stage. This gale of defections have not started then. So
if that was at the early stage, imagine what happens now that everybody's moving to the APC.
In a political party, Lagos State, for instance, we tend to use Lagos State as an example. Are there no dissenting forces even within the political, within the Lagos political machinery? Just a few days ago, I think around Agege and all of that, people were talking, oh, we don't want Obasa, we don't want that, and there is, an alignment, to address that. So I don't see the fear, of, a one-party state. I see, Nigeria coalescing for the interest of Nigerians. And if APC becomes a movement, there will also be within the APC, ecosystem, voices that want to, talk about, where to go and where not to go. So I don't see that as a fear. All that is just the wishful thinking of the opposition, which, as I said, has already collapsed. What I want to say is that the Nigerian political system rewards patience, and President Bola Tinubu has been very patient. It also rewards strategy. President Bola Tinubu, is very strategic. He's strategic in Lagos, and we see what is happening in Lagos, and he will extend that strategy to Nigeria. And as far as I'm concerned, the president is looking at, beyond 2027, even to 2031.
I mean, as you mentioned all these rewards, hopefully we look forward to it officially rewarding majority of the citizens of the country so that they feel like they have been rewarded.
Indeed, I've made allusion to that. Rewarding, the Nigerian people who brought him to power.
Time will tell in the next few months.
And I've also said that
every single Nigerian.
The Nigerian people. I've said that, and I've also said there is the need to look at the political class, for us to tone down, our own, lifestyles and rhetorics.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Dennis Oyakhire. Thank you, Dr. Dennis Oyakhire, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.